Best of Nine series, another one of these AlphaX show matches, as we have two fan favorite players, really. In the bottom right-hand side, the blue Protoss is Stats from the Afrika Freaks, taking on our red Terran in the top left-hand side, ByuN. Here we've obviously been casting a whole bunch of as of late. I mean, he's just been playing in a bunch of things, and we've been able to get the replays of them, so we may as well just cast ByuN because, hey, I'm a ByuN fanboy. I say it every single time. Welcome to this Best of Nine, of course. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you guys know what I'm gonna say. Hit that like button. Do consider subscribing. And, yeah, I always appreciate if you guys get to do that. I will just lead with this as well, saying that there's potential that we split this into two parts. Obviously, I don't know how long this series is going in, but I do notice that when I uploaded like a Best of Nine the other day, and it was like an hour and 45 minutes long, and it really didn't do as well as it should have done. And I'm pretty sure it's just because it was too long for the YouTube algorithm, right? So I think we'll probably, I don't know, it'll depend how long this goes, but just a heads up that basically with all these Best of Nines, there is a potential that it becomes a two-parter on the YouTube upload. So just a little bit of information for you guys there, just in case it does come down to that. Just don't be shocked if it ends after 5 maps or so. Again, I don't know that before I make the call, so if the series just ends and you're like, whoa, there's games left over, that is why. So yeah, a fun little matchup here. Stats and ByuN, two players who, like I say, fan favorites, I think is the best words for the two of them, right? You know, obviously champions in their own right. Both players who have had a hell of a past as well. And yeah, I mean, obviously what's fun is that we're seeing ByuN return from the military and looking so good. And a Stats who has been realistically probably having to go to the military sometime soon. So that's something to keep in mind, that these two are in very different parts of their careers. Now, they did play a couple of times since ByuN returned from the military. They played an ESL Open Cup, which Stats won 3-1. I believe that was actually the first ByuN game we put up on the channel since ByuN's return, on the YouTube at least. That was the first ByuN game I casted coming back. And Stats also won 2-0 in their GSL group. So Stats definitely has the upper hand over ByuN generally in these matches that they've played lately. As we do have a couple of Marines continue to produce. Factory going to be finishing from ByuN in a few moments, and this gas of ByuN in the main base. Twilight Council goes down in the main as well as the Stalker comes out down into the natural and off onto the map. So starting to move out toward the center. So you have this Adept moving up into the high ground here, as the Adept just hanging around. So Adept, Stalker coming out through into the center. You're just going to be seeing these Marines of ByuN all gathering up together. So the Marines joining on up. We're just going to be seeing the Marines are kind of out on their own. No bunker or anything to help protect them. So it's just going to be this kind of Stalker Adept pressure to do okay. The high ground vision, of course, is the big issue, but that Adept shade does help. So you get 2 Marines. That's not so bad. Obviously, the big reason you've got this Marine count in the first place is because there was no Reaper early. So ByuN forfeits scouting information, doesn't even SCV scout early on. He forfeits that to basically say, right, well, I'll get a good amount of Marines out early, I'll take a forward position, and I can kind of fight with your first few units. He's going to continue bringing these across the map to the bottom right-hand side. So bringing this down to the bottom right, just going to be seeing a couple of Hellions continuing through. And just going to be seeing the Adept. The Stalker continues to set up. Marines are going to... okay, they get the Adept anyway here to just see the Hellions continuing through. So he's actually going to be able to get a few kills. There's one Stalker on its own, not going to kill Hellions super quickly, and 2 more Hellions just showed up. 7 probes, and ByuN gets off to a really good start here. 8 workers killed, and now a few more. Still 3 Hellions. And even as you go down to 2, no shield battery here, so we're not talking about any one-shot potential, and I even got the Stalker there too. That's one more probe that doesn't quite go down. In the main base, there is a battery, but this Hellion now becomes a scout as well. You get to see Blink, Chrono Boost, and you get to see the Robo build and the Prism. And that Hellion does get taken down. So Hellion shot down. Starport of ByuN is in the main base. A couple of depots off to the side, so really keeping an eye on anything that wants to fly in here. As we will see a counter from Stats. He's about to have Blink. He is on 3 gateways, so he has good warping potential as this Prism shows up. So yeah, there's some good potential to go across the map here as well, for sure. As the couple of Stalkers going to be, for the moment, leading that charge. Marines have to be a little bit careful, backing away. The extra Stalker's still setting up, just going to be seeing our barracks of ByuN building in the main base, and, well, I'm Marauder to help out. The Stalkers will blink in. Stim, don't lose Stim, right? With 10 seconds to go, losing Stim would be so sad. No, ByuN, please save Stim. Oh my god, 5 seconds to go, Stim denial. Are you kidding me? Stats picks off the Stim pack, and that is massive. That delays everything that ByuN would want to do here for the foreseeable future, really. And now he blinks back in, he gets the tech lab again, and ByuN's is going to be held back big time. This is painful. These Stalkers coming in, Marines and SCVs continue to pull through. Medevac's getting shot down by these Stalkers, and a couple of them will continue to die. Marauder's going down. I mean, obviously, against some more SCVs here, and these Stalkers doing well, of course. You continue warping these Stalkers and Zealots, and it does mean you're not building a third base back at home. You're not going into further tech. Now the Warp Prism goes down. Obviously, the Stalkers can blink out of here. 14 SCVs died, though. I can't believe you lost the Stim pack. It was so close. It was so close to being okay as you continue to pull away. The tank is going to go and push back the Zealot, and 16 SCVs have fallen. Can you believe it? There's now the few Stalkers of stats are going to move up through the center. Two more Marines coming out. The +1 attack upgrade on the Engineering Bay coming through. ByuN as the tank and the Viking joining up on the ramp there, and just going to be seeing stats still moving up through into the top side of this. Stalkers around the left, just going to be seeing the tech labs about to finish on these barracks. A couple of Marauders already on the way as the Stim pack sets up. The other few Stalkers continuing to go to that top left-hand side, and the reactor about to finish on the starport. Marines, Vikings, all joining up together as we do just have the rest of these from stats just... I mean, still only just starting the third base, and that's the only reason I have a bit of hope for ByuN, is that the third is so late here for stats. I love this blink, though. That's really cute. Just blinks in, hits the corner SCVs, gets a couple kills, has the Prism to evacuate. It's just more SCVs going down. At this point, you've killed 20 SCVs, really making up for that early game. And come kind of ping-ponging back and forth a bit. I mean, you can argue that obviously stats would like to be on a 6, 7, 8 worker lead here to be okay in economy because of mules. So, I mean, you could argue that ByuN's actually still playable there. It's just how late he can go across the map is the biggest problem. You know, because now Stats has a much longer time to set up Colossi and stuff. So even though he's maybe not quite on the eco or income advantage that he'd like, it's still looking pretty good. Just going to be seeing the rest of our Stalkers coming back through the center. A bit more bio setting up. Again, Stim, Combat Shield, +1 attack, +1 armor, all coming through. When you finish those, ByuN's going to launch an attack. And maybe he'll expand behind it. It's going to be dangerous. I mean, how many Colossi are we going to have? 2? So we maybe have 2 Colossi. This Viking squad picks off an Observer pretty quickly. Tank shot is good to keep the Stalkers pinned back. They're going to pull around the left-hand side. Bio coming forward, and that's going to be seeing the first Stalker has to blink away. The other Stalker's blinking away as well. ByuN continuing down the left-hand side. Disruptor. Corona boosting, setting up. Stalkers almost wanting to come in and catch a siege tank here, but the medevacs are here to micro too. 3CC does start from ByuN, so he is going to get the third running. He's not just going to fall into this. Because the shell's about to complete here from ByuN as well. The rest of these Stalkers still heading down to the bottom side. A couple of Colossi to join up with the rest. ByuN scans up that ramp, and a couple of Colossi again doing okay. Tank is going to get sieged, and start taking a few shots. Blinking forward, gets a siege tank connection. Big hits on the Disruptor. That's massive, because now the 2 siege tanks went down so quickly. 1-1 upgrades against 0-0. Like, I want to believe in this attack of ByuN, but he's not really in the right place. He kind of needs to be over here denying the third. He could maybe push toward the main. Try and make something happen there. That's maybe the best bet. Hey, these Colossi are in a bit of an odd spot. They're going to take tank fire right from the get-go this time. So losing the shield, there's no battery on this natural, so no super battery available or anything along those lines either. And so Stats is in a bit of an awkward spot trying to break out of this. I didn't really believe in this ByuN army after the Disruptors got those connections before. Let's see what happens this time. Disruptors blow up the Zealots, helping ByuN out even further here. As now Stalkers blink in. Stats is coming into the middle of the map. Maybe this is ByuN's chance to split up, spread out, and just go for this. Here we go. He's going to chase forward. Doesn't have to fight with the ramp this time. Disruptor shot is good, though. Now ByuN's going to back away. He's going to have Zealots in the natural before he gets back home, so likely to lose some more SCVs. And Stats has held for the moment. ByuN still only 5 workers behind with his 3rd CC, now in position at least, so he has something to work with there. The rest of this army from Stats moving along to the left. Bio army gathering up, bit of healing going in from those medevacs. Liberator going to fly straight through the middle and just going to get caught by Stalkers, so... Oh, I thought these 2 Stalkers would come in and kill it, and, well, they will. Just took a moment longer than expected. Stats now going to go on the offensive, going to move across the upper left side. First Marauder, second Marauder, both going down. The Marines getting picked away at 2, and the Stalker blink in to help finish that off. Templar Archives is on the way in the main. Disruptor shots. Good, onto the tank. Bio Army taking some big damage as well. Still pushing through this. Stats is going to get in. He's going to take down that siege tank. The Stalker is going to be able to go for the Liberator. Is going to get that Liberator killed off. The Engineering Bay and the Armory building in the front. SCVs still dropping. And Zealots from the main base too, actually. I love this. He warps the Zealots to the main, actually just chases units down into the natural with them instead of continuing up into the main base and into that mineral line. I mean, either or. Both would have been great options. As Stats attacks, defends, and gets himself back in the game after that early attack, which is obviously not going well down in this natural expansion. Turned it around, got that stim that really slowed ByuN down, makes a hold back at home, and the follow-up from there. He just hit that critical mass of tech units to basically win out the game. GG's. In the bottom left-hand side, taking the 1-0 lead is going to be our Blue Protoss player from the Afrika Freaks. It is Stats. Taking on the Red Terran in the top right-hand side, it's ByuN. Game 2 of our series. ByuN really did fantastic damage early on last time. If he just kept Stim alive, I do wonder what difference that would have made. I feel that makes a difference because then he doesn't take further continued damage. I feel like then you get across the map more easily and more quickly. The difference that Stim Snipe made could have been absolutely everything in that, right? Like, that could have just been the deciding factor, basically. Setting up in the main base. You do see the probe going to be out over the left-hand side. Gateway sets up from Stats in the main. So we got this ready to go. Barracks about halfway done. Gas about to finish. Probe just being very cautious and not a proxy here. ByuN this time is going to SCV Scout. So when completely blind last game was as greedy as possible. In this game will SCV Scout. Wouldn't be surprised to also see the Reaper on the follow-up to this time around. As the SCV makes its way to the bottom left. So, yeah, it is going to be a reactor game, so I'll take that back. It's not going to be the Reaper. I thought with the SCV scouting, they may follow up with the Reaper scout and just play a bit more of a normal setup, but no, he will just go reactor first. He will get that very high Marine count early, and I wonder if that's just part of the way that ByuN wants to play this series, right? You know, being able to just go into, like, a lot of Marines early, use those to help with initial pressure and initial builds. Something that can absolutely throw your opponent off a lot. I think that's a pretty big, deal. CV comes up through the top side. Do have our probe is going to be around the top as well. Stats would also like some information. He hasn't scouted himself yet. So just getting to know the command center is indeed there. This is not some kind of one-base startup. That's all you really need is Stats. So he's going to go in because he doesn't think the Reaper is going to be here yet. The Marines are. He's only going to show one Marine, though. So it's potential that, you know, one Marine, it could still be like Reaper into a Marine. So I think that's part of the mind game that ByuN plays there by not showing the second Marine, which might have gotten the probe kill though. So maybe that would have been worthwhile. But again, you can then also argue that maybe it keeps the unit back at home defensively against a potential Reaper instead of everything just moving across the map. So a couple of ways to look at this. It maybe means this Adept moves further forward without expecting to run into Marines as well, right? There's a lot of little things that could be the reason for not showing Marine number 2. Now, the follow-up to this from ByuN is going to be a second Rax. SCV's hiding up here. Looks like we'll see a... I was going to say maybe like a third CC, but no, we're just going to be straight up seeing a... an SCV miss rally, apparently. Nope, now he goes back up here. So it's going to be a third CC in the corner of 2 racks. He has a lot of gas to spend, but that will go very quickly once you start stim, you start a factory. That disappears really quickly. Just really wants to prioritize that third CC timing. So it's a third CC with, you know, extra Marines than usual and potential to build more than usual and a faster stim than usual. So instead of going 3 CC off 1 gas and 1 racks, you do just commit into the second racks and yeah, it just gives you more units, so obviously helps out a lot defensively. As that robo facility sets up at the front of the natural, an observer already on the way out. You want to see the Sector Stalker just warping in here, so it's a couple of Stalkers setting up at the front. Stimpack is on the way into the main. Seeing an extra Rex dropping down. Engineering Bay is building. The CC will finish up in a few moments' time. So, yeah, ByuN gets a nice quick 3 bases. Now, Stats adds on an extra gate. He'll be on 3 gates again. It was fairly similar to the last game, but look at the difference. This time he doesn't go aggressive. This time he just says, cool, I'm going to take my Robo Bay. I'm going to tech up into Colossus, and then from there I'm going to be able to go take a third base and pull the rest of it. So a little bit more tech heavy this time from Stats. Obviously last game was very aggressive off the units because he was trying to counter and deal damage. So yeah, just a different approach for game number 2. Always like to see that, mixing it up. The Stalker of Stats continues across to the upper right side. Observer hanging around. Marine is patrolling. Stimpack about to complete his +1 attack on the Engineering Bay gets going. I love that the stop on the factory just in the natural. I mean, I guess it's a bit of a... I don't even know, really. I mean, Stats has seen everything anyway, so it's not a big deal. Maybe just wants to keep this space kind of clear just in case of aggression early on from blink-ins, etc. Just doesn't want to expose more add-ons than he needs to. If you blink in here, now you at least have to take a step forward to hit this tech lab, for example. This reactor maybe is the most exposed. You have the factory and starport here. It's much easier to blink in, reactor kill, blink out. So maybe that has something to do with the factory and the starport being down there. The factory then going to move back up into the main. Might have just been trying to hide it, but just wasn't able to. And it's also a possibility as well, right? There's a lot of little things that... I mean, ByuN's trying to play like a very tricky game. You know, from the mind games I was talking about earlier to here right now. Stalker's up to the top. The bunker is going to salvage, and the Bio going to start moving forward. A few Stalkers on the right-hand side. I'm just going to be seeing our command center of ByuN and move to the third base. So, CC going to move to the third. Marauders are... Ooh, Marauder goes down. Marine gets picked off as well. Just going to be seeing this army of ByuN still heading down to the bottom side. +1 attack. Combat shield getting going. A couple medevacs. Widow mines. All of this coming through as ByuN goes to the left-hand side. So a couple medevacs over to the left. Observer sets up from Stats. And you do have the rest of this Bio pushing forwards. These Stalkers already in position to deal with this as... You have our 5 extra gates on the way up from Stats right here. Stalker's still warping in, and I don't think this drop will get anything done. So the next step, as we see charge and +1, going to be very gateway heavy on the follow-up here from Stats, who has 2 Colossi. He could have 2 Colossus last game. We'll see if that's the same here. Going Gravitic Drive, maybe it's time to add on Disruptors. There's the Temple Archives at least, so seems to be kind of happy with 2. As ByuN gets into a position where he can at least pick off the pylon. Pushes the Stalker back a little bit. Stalker's going to come back in. Marauder nearly falls. Sorry, Marauder does fall, doesn't Nelly fall. Okay. Obviously, with the Colossi on this right side base, I don't think there's any opportunity for ByuN to hit there. He's now gathering his whole army together. So everything joining up at once as the medevacs continue through the center. Couple Widow Mines, the Bio units coming in, trailing as well. Bio going to start stemming up this ramp. Widow Mines are burrowing. The connection from the Widow Mine gets a Zealot, gets another. But everything else has gone down, so ByuN has to back away. Now, he didn't actually bring these Marines in with this fight, so it wasn't like everything, but it was a good chunk of what he had out on the map here. So that's a bit unfortunate for ByuN, as Stats is just winning these fights. Everything joining up together, as we do have the medevac still building. There is the armory from ByuN in the back of the natural, so gets that underway too, as everything else still looking for a move out. Stats going to bring Zealot, Stalker, Colossus off the map. He has added on a couple of those disruptors alongside the Archons from the Templar Archives. This is nice. A couple of Widow Mine shots onto Archons. Actually doing pretty well. This Widow Mine felt like it curved onto those Stalkers. Good bit of cleanup as Marine's going to stim up here. They're going to get this disruptor in time. Super Battery saves it and he gets a connection. Wow, Stats is actually defending beautifully. He's doing a really good job of minimizing everything that ByuN's trying to do. It feels like ByuN's making some cool plays, but Stats is just saying no to all of them. And now you're on top of this third base. ByuN absolutely does not have a way to fight this. He doesn't have a way to fight the Colossi back, and the Disruptors are going to keep his army back as well. A lot of SCVs already going down. Now they're straight up the command center might die. Marauders will target down this Disruptor, but the shot goes off before the Disruptor died. Just wasn't accurate. And the Stalkers, the Colossi, backing away a little bit again. Now blinking back forward. A couple of medevacs will start to fall, and still just seeing our Stalker army keeping the pressure up. Continuing to pull back again right now as Marines and Marauders continue through. Plus goes down, the extra couple of Vikings showing up. I mean, just done a fantastic job of making the most out of so little toward the end here. A Viking lands. Can he clean up anything extra at the end? 3 Stalkers survive this fight. It's just 3 Stalkers surviving against a ByuN who has to try and re-establish economy for third base. He does at least have 4 command centers, so that is some good news. There's a prison behind his main, though, so that can come in during this. And the rebuild's already been happening from Stats. He has 5 freaking Disruptors ready to go. Like, hello? Yeah, if Stats was just on, like, gateway units now, I'd be like, okay, maybe. But the fact he's got 5 Disruptors just set up, ready to go. He's got double Robos. The 2 new Colossus are going to be out very soon. You know, this is just going to be... It's just going to be it, right? Drop into the main base. At least we'll try and do something. This was an orbital, not even a planetary up here, even though you already had triple orbital. So no extra defense given. War Prism in the main at the same time. It's this drop to try and save the day, trying to depower gateways, but there is no saving what's going on in the natural in the main base at the moment. Way too many units. And yeah, spamming the gates is definitely the right call. It's probably the best call you can make in terms of the current situation, but yeah, you still have to clean this up, ByuN, right? You know, otherwise your own production is not exactly doing much. A couple of Colossi come in to fight this, and Staff's just going to try and save one of them as guess the numbers low, and that's going to be good. ByuN is going to tap out the GG, and Stats is going to take a 2-0 lead now in this best of 9. Stats really just said no to every attempt of being aggressive out of ByuN, so... With the 2-0 lead in the upper left-hand side, Stats has been looking pretty good so far. Taking on the Red Terror in the bottom right-hand side, ByuN. Best of 9. Always feel like the further behind you fall in a best of 9, the more difficult it is to get back, right? You know, it's not like a best of 5. You know, I feel like best of 5, like you down 0-2, it's like, oh god, like no more mistakes available. You got to win 3 in a row. That's tough, yeah, but best of 9 is like you fall down 0-3 and you've got to go, what, like 5-1? You know, just something about that seems so tough compared to, you know, you think about how many best of 7s you see where someone goes from 0-3 to 4-3. Very rarely, right? And the best of 9, it's obviously even, you know, an even rarer occasion on top of it. ByuN looking for the early game engineering bay block with this SCV taking the awkward scouting pattern. Stats is also probe scouting to try see what he wants to find. See if there's a proxy or anything going on. Obviously, the SCV wants to get in, drop the engineering bay straight down and block that base. Probe's already here to try and block the engineering bay block. And ByuN sees that. He gets ahead of the SCV, though, or ahead of the probe. And so he will get the engineering bay down without any further issue just yet. So engineering bay able to drop in. Now, as a couple of extra probes come through, SCV does tap back onto that engineering bay for just a moment. And the probes are going to continue against the NG bay. Cybercore down in the main base as we have got the factory now starting. So this is the typical setup where you go engineering bay into the factory before you expand. The factory before you expand is what makes this engineering bay block decent at all. Because obviously then you don't kind of delay. You know, you're not delaying your CC when otherwise you could have had a CC. So it just lines up nicely and allows you to put good pressure on the map. Allows you to get units out at a good time. Especially if you force units, you know, due to the engineering bay block, it gives you the units defensively to make sure that stats can't capitalize off making those units as well. So that's why we typically see this. Obviously, it's kind of dangerous when you have a... say you go engineering bay into like CC without the factory, you're basically delaying the CC, and then without the factory you don't have like a Hellion or so, and so the adept shows up. The CC is later than usual because you build 125 minerals on the engineering bay, and you don't have anything to fight the adept off, so it's just going to delay that command center for a very long time. As the starport sets up over on the left, Twilight Council is building up in the main base here, as we're just going to be seeing our Orb Gate coming in on the Cybercore. Stalker still Chrono boosting out. And a couple of Hellions are continue to produce. They're going to pop out in a moment or so. The Adept will continue down to the bottom side. So this is what I mean. This time around you've got these Hellions here. And this Adept is in trouble because it's shaded over there. Ooh, it's going to recall it to try and save the day. Okay. Even if that other Hellion had attacked, I don't think that makes the difference, so... Okay, but this is what I mean, right? This time you've got the units up so the CC doesn't get delayed anything past what it should be. You know, that Adept has to recall back home. That's already a bit of a win as well. As now the barracks can swap on over to the reactor. The factory's going to move off the side. And we do have the proxied starport to lift the Hellions and take them into the main base in the next little while. So, meanwhile, Stats on the other side of the map is proxying a Dark Shrine, so he's going to try and get aggressive too. What's the defense looking like in the main? Non-existent. There's actually just barely any units on the map right here, so ByuN is going to get good damage done. If he doesn't kill Templar's workers here, then Stats has pulled off a bit of a miracle in my eyes. Let's see. 4 Hellions, they unload without the opponent knowing about it in the slightest. Into the middle line we go. First couple shots, only 1 probe each. Still true. 4. He's got to start lining these up at some point and getting a few kills at once. There we go. Gets to 7, 9, and there's the 10. And the 4 Hellions are still alive and healthy into the natural expansion. And again, to me, this is expected amounts of damage given the situation. He gets up to 12. He can probably go back in the main. And these Hellions, they don't have a lot of use back at home. Now remember, during all of this, the Dark Shrine is building out on the map, so the Hellions don't get to scout the Dark Shrine. They do get to see a Twilight not upgrading. If ByuN pays attention to that, that could be the info that tells him, hey, why you've got a Twilight? Why is it not building anything? 17 probes get killed. The preparation for these DTs? Non-existent. Not even a scan saved up. So ByuN is going to take some huge counter damage. And for the second time in this series already, ByuN gets very far ahead, only to potentially lose all his advantage due to the counter. And that happened in game 1. He did a lot of damage early, and he had no answer to the counter Blinkstalkers. Now he has no answer to this DT. I mean, Stats, first DT in, second DT moving over. DT comes in. He's actually going to start taking down Marines, so he takes down this army. To get rid of the army, then obviously the rest of this actually becomes a problem as well, because then straight up other units could just show up and do very well. Scan available in a moment. 8 SCVs go down. No mining currently going on in the natural expansion. There's this DT up in the corner. Scans just now drop. DT tries to run away. Now he does so. As units are going to go and press through this depot. Next scan not available just yet. Is going to break in. Maybe a few more kills here. Gets another SCV already. I mean, problem is missile turrets are about to be done, so you're going to be limited on the amount of scans you're actually going to be able to force. And still good, right? You're going to get 12 SCV kills here in total now. This DT, obviously in range of a turret. If anything, you want to force the scan. Forcing the scan is more damage done. And the DTs, I would say, bring stats right back into this game. And a couple more pros finish up, and now he's a 5-worker lead. Army supply is not great. He's just starting Blink. I mean, okay. In fairness, there's a lot of stuff that's not great for stats, you know, such as Blink being very late. Probe count isn't amazing, and his army count as it stands isn't amazing, but he does have some money to spend. I don't know if ByuN can really go across the map when he has to spend every single scan he has on DTs. And the thing is, because all the scans are going on to all the energy's going on to scans and not mules, 6-worker lead is actually probably good enough for stats. You know, usually this would be probably a bit beneficial to the Terran, but if you're not dropping mules, you lose the benefit. You lose the need of stats to be 8-9 workers ahead, and 6 workers will do the job just fine. Let's give another unit here, and I feel like this push is still the scary one, but again, you talk about DTs being brought in defensively. I mean, if a DT gets on this army right now, you're going to start losing Marines and tanks, unless you can scan. I mean, maybe that's just the plan, to just save up enough scans, but there's only so many scans available. Catches a tank middle of the map. As I'm checking the energy on the orbitals. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like, yeah, maybe the first DT won't do much, but the second DT will. At the very least, the third DT will. Right? And again, then you're forcing scan usage as well. Marine tank up to the top. As the Nexus is going to take some damage. Archon taking some shots here. Stalker's taking some fire. I mean, he's going to get rid of the Archon. Then the Stalkers on their own. Yeah, I mean, you get rid of the siege tanks, and that's the big deal, right? The Marines after are going to be dealt with no matter what eventually. Good hold from stats when it got a little bit dangerous, arguably. Viking into the main. That's well handled, too. Nice blink. Body blocks the Viking to stop an extra probe going down. Another good defense from stats, all said and done. It's been a scrappy game, right? It's not like stats hasn't lost anything. He's lost a lot of stuff, too. But I mean, the worker count evens out. Stats has just got the third base, so you'll start to open up that worker count advantage again. Obviously, you got stuck at kind of similar setups, right? Fire comes in. Immortal Stalkers trying to fight back. A few SCVs going down. Marines with the stim are going to get rid of the Immortal. The Immortal dove in to get the Marauder. The Stalkers are going to blink over here, apparently. A couple extra units coming through now, and 6 SCVs fall as ByuN will now defend. Hey, one of the big things I haven't mentioned is the 1-1 upgrades. ByuN having 1-1 against 0-0. Maybe that is ByuN's ticket to success here on Death Aura, because that's obviously a huge upgrade lead. Definitely a possibility as we'll have our Bioforce up the front. SCV going to get ready to drop down a command center on the third base. Stamp has another attack into the natural expansion, which means that he actually is going to catch the first medevac. It's a huge pick-off, and now blinking through for even more SCV kills. He'll recall away when he gets into trouble. Beautifully done. Obviously, it's just more worker damage. How many workers dead this game now? 25 SCVs. 19 probes as well, by the way. Obviously, that early game was huge for ByuN, but stats constantly finds ways. And, you know, again, it wasn't just the workers killed for stats. He's forced, you know, a lack of mining multiple times over. And now you're on a full 3-base saturation. A third of ByuN is just on the way. And it just feels like you're starting to ask the impossible of ByuN. Try and get back into this. Upgrade lead or no? I think right now is ByuN's best shot. The sooner he attacks, maybe the better, because he's got an army lead, he's got an upgrade lead. Those things will disappear with the worker disadvantage he currently sits at. As even just a couple Stalkers, he is successful to get a Widow Mine. As this Bio coming back through, Stalkers pushed back. Widow Mine kind of wanted to go up that ramp, but decides not to. Takes a couple of shots. Now Stalker blinks away, and just going to see the other couple of medevacs from ByuN. Going to go around that left-hand side. Barracks are building. As he goes up to 5 racks, Stalkers catch the medevacs. ByuN is really just not allowed in anywhere. Again, I mean, I think you could headline this game, the defense of stats. Headline this series, the defenses of stats. The super early game defense has not been good, but he counterattacks to get back into the games from there. And after he counterattacks to get back in, then his defense, you know, from like 8 minutes onward has been impeccable. Right? It's been really, really good. Alright, ByuN at least is going to find the Dark Shrine. No, he missed it. Can't believe that. If you find the Dark Shrine, at least you can stop these freaking other things from going down. He's going to find it now, so he's going to come across. He will deny this. I mean, yeah, at least if you find the Dark Shrine, you can stop the DTs from building, so you don't have to keep saving scans again or worry about that any longer. And that's a little sigh of relief for ByuN at least. Okay, well, ByuN's played catch-up. Income has obviously started to stabilize as ByuN saturates base 3. Meaning that, again, if ByuN can take a good fight, he can maybe get back into an advantage here. He's now in a position to play back into this. Of course, stats, his army supply may not look amazing. That's because he put money into tech structures, into tech choices, right? And his army is really powering up. While ByuN still sits on ByuMine, stats sits on disruptive production, Colossus production. You know, he's already got charge upgrade completed. This fourth base is going to be denied, and that will slow the warp-ins toward the end here, but doesn't really have an impact. It's well long gone. All those warp-ins were done anyway. These Alts causing chaos again. It's just those few SCVs ByuN loses every single time. They really add up. Fighting back, the Zards are going down. We do see disruptive production continuing. +1 armor, +2 attack. Still on the way. Now the Bio comes out to the left-hand side. Templar Archives and the Dark Shrine building in the main base as the Bio comes through. Stalker already blinks back. Zealot's taking some damage. The Nexus surviving. Disruptor shot. Not going to land. Turning back around, we're going to be seeing the rest of these Zealots still coming into this. Disruptors are still leading the charge. Now we see a split from ByuN to the right side. So he's going to have that counterattack at the same time. Trying to... I mean, he kind of wants stats to keep chasing him here. The more stats chase him to the right side, the more potential there is on the... Sorry, on the left side, the more potential there is on the right. Enough units to turn it around, though. There's no medevacs to heal in that army either. Okay, now this is bad because now ByuN doesn't do anything with this split army. And so now his army is split, and stats is chased all the way back to ByuN's bases. So, realistic position here where ByuN's going to be forced into a fight he just doesn't really want to take, apart from to save his bases. But in terms of, you know, the army fight, he just doesn't think it's going to go well for him. But again, sometimes you just have to fight, and this is becoming one of those situations. And stats backs off. He is maybe a little bit afraid of this army flanking in, and that maybe would have been one of the more dangerous things. I would say stats, only 2 Colossi still, only 5 Disruptors. To me, it feels like it could have been so much more splash damage at this point. Disruptor shots flying up. The one on the top side is great. The next Disruptor is good as well. I love what stats is doing. Just one Disruptor at a time. It forces ByuN to constantly be splitting backwards. He can never just commit through to the fight as Zealots sweep in from the right. Marauders continue to fall, and stats is going to push ByuN away in the middle of the map here. It was dangerous, you know, if you get flanked in, but from one direction, the Disruptor Colossus combo was absolutely plenty to make work. Well, from ByuN up to the top side, Battery is going to get taken down. Widow Mines get shut down as well. And we still see these couple Stalkers continue to come through. Archons are going to be leading in as well. Going to get in on top of this Orbital, so this Orbital will go down. No, Orbital will survive. Wow. Okay, so Orbital is saved. Medevacs over here don't have much in. But I mean, it doesn't really matter. You're losing all the SCVs. And your army is worse than it's ever been. GG is cold, and Stats opens up the 3-0 lead in the Best of 9 series. Stats is getting into an extremely good position here. Looking fantastic so far. Onto Submarine we go. As in the top left-hand side, our Blue Protoss is Stats. Taking on the Red Terran, early SCV. On the bottom right side, this is ByuN. Okay, I mean, you're down 0-3. Maybe time to switch it up completely. You've been getting off to good starts. You just need to fix the next stages. You've also seen that Stats is really good defensively from like 8 minutes onwards. So he's going to try and get aggro this probe. Ooh, did that see it? I didn't click in time to see if he saw. I don't think he did because the probe didn't pull back or anything. But the probe continues across the map super early. So he's going to realize no barracks in the main. Very early on here. There's that gateway. This probe is going to go up and double check no racks. So, okay. So it's going to be a fun start at the very least. It'll be interesting to see what ByuN really tries to do out of that. Probably just expecting to reap a nice kill on the probe. This is really cool because now you really don't know what the follow-up is. And you don't get to check some of the other locations. Like you don't get to check behind the natural just to see if it's like a weird position here. Again, this is all assuming he didn't know about the SCV initially. Stats going to check his natural, though, and he's going to find the barracks building. Delayable? I don't think so. He pulls another probe. Maybe it is delayable. This SCV is not RNG to the bottom side of this barracks at all. Wow, this is bad SCV RNG. That's horrendous for ByuN. Not a single time did it go like down over here or like completely swap sides to buy time. Wow, that's a real shame. All right, well. And new SCV is going to move on to the map to try, I assume, to try and finish the barracks. He starts a new barracks back at home. What the hell are we going to have to do here? All right, SCV coming up. I mean, if you can finish the racks, then that kind of... I mean, that works. Hey, he gets the racks finished. The most delayed Reaper ever. Racks at home. What are you going to do? Like a Reaper? Do you just... I mean, I think you build the factory right away here maybe as well. Well, maybe expand then factory. I mean, depends on your priorities. So he's going to prioritize the expansion. I don't mind that. And he's going to kind of turn into this weird 2-racks Reaper play. I wonder if he's really going to make more than... I would imagine he's going to have another Reaper out of this racks, though. That would be my assumption at the very least. The top's back. Okay, he's gonna just float this wreck. So what, just the 2 Reapers is the plan? And he starts one more, but it's on this Rex back at home. And that's obviously the safer choice for where to build the next Reaper. It is just going to be that little bit slower. I guess 3 Reapers. I mean, for the moment, looks like they'll play defensively. Maybe go aggro a little bit later on. Hey, thanks for the subs coming in, guys. I'll mention you guys after the game. Appreciate the few primes that just dropped in. Thank you very much. Well, here come the 2 Reapers, right? So the soldiers are busy on the back, so the Reapers are going to get a probe kill at least. As long as he actually finishes off these probes. There's another one that's already low. He'll get a second kill. Now he's going to get number 3. Hey, that's not bad because the Stalkers are not in reach, but there's an Adept here. Gotcha. And that is a dead Reaper, unfortunately. Hey, nice attempt, though. He actually cancelled Reaper 3, and I kind of agree with that as well. I don't think Reaper 3 makes a lot of sense to build it at home and all the rest. But hey, 3 probes, it's something. It brings ByuN back a little bit. In a game where his own CC was late. Obviously, the setup initially was absolutely not what he was looking for. Blink is starting Chrono Boosting on the Twilight Council Robo Facility, about halfway done. And a couple of barracks built up from ByuN in the main base as well, so sign up for that as the Adept and the couple of Soldiers will continue down the bottom right. Blink is going to finish up in just a moment or so. One last Reaper comes back in. That was not the probe he wanted to pick on. He's going to get it, though, anyway. Hey, I mean, extra probe. Gets back in. Gets a re-scout. It's just the 2 gateways from stats. Going to go Robo Bay pretty early on once again. Obviously, timings are a little bit skewed because of the way that things got going at the start. These Stalkers going to get by. They get a couple SCVs. Got a 3rd SCV. Three SCVs go down. Robobay is about halfway done. Stats continues up that right side. Again, the Robobay just coming through here from stats. Going to be finishing up in a few moments' time. The rest of these stalkers will make their way up to the top. Nice little snipe on an observer here. Always good to get rid of those. I mean, the game obviously settles down a little bit then, and it feels for once. I mean, we haven't really had like a super clean just early game still yet really in this series. Maybe game 2 a little bit more so, but it's been a case of, now we settle down into this. I mean, I guess we'll see how much submarine comes into play. There's shorter rush distance. ByuN is going to have tanks, stim, and combat shields to fight with. Engineering bays are done though, so he also starts double upgrades. And to me, that means at the very least the push is going to have a third CC behind it. So ByuN's not looking to be overly aggro here, not looking to just straight up end the game, I guess. As the bio moves down and out a little bit. So the extra gateways just into the main base as we're going to be seeing the Stalkers. Colossus, couple Colossi into the middle. So Stat's going to go poking. Stat's going to try and see what he can do. Making his way down to the bottom right-hand side. Catches the Widow Mine in the front already, so he's able to take that down. And yeah, I mean, the rest of this army from ByuN Bio setting up. Defensively, I think ByuN's okay because he's got the siege tanks, of course. So I think that goes a long way to helping out, as we'll see these few tanks just going to be unsieging, starting to move around. Templar Archive sets up from stats in the main base. A couple Colossus shots. He'll grab a Marauder as well. Stats is on 3 bases, 60 probes. To me, it's ByuN that needs to make the push happen, but ByuN is not doing much of anything just yet still. As 1-1 is done, this is really the time to make yourself known about on the map. Stats is here to slow him down. So it's going to be, what's meant to be a quick get across the map and siege is going to be done much more slowly. We've got Zealots warping in on the left side too, so they're going to run by the natural or flank. And at the same time, you're going to have the Prism into the main. So ByuN's going to have a lot to deal with here in the very near future. We've got the Zealots jumping in on top of that missile turret. I mean, Prism gets shut down pretty quick, but you still have to get rid of the Zealots, right? Which take a little while. ByuN being slowed down yet again. 8.5 minutes in game. I don't even think we're at a point of seeing a third base behind this. We might even see SCVs coming across the map to try and help out with this. Those Zealots are going to be seeing ByuN. Yeah, he's going to stem down for them. I mean, to be fair, that's a lot of Zealots. It's absolutely worth catching these, but somehow they get by this army on the left side. So they actually get a few kills initially, and then they're going to take even more time to get rid of because ByuN has to chase them all the way back to his natural. Oh my god. This is tough. Disruptor's here now as well. I mean, it's just gone too long without ByuN actually making this attack. We were talking about 2 minutes ago. I was like, let's go, ByuN, let's do this. And here we are. He's still not even past the halfway mark of the map. Yeah, I want to be more positive than I'm being, but this game is not going anywhere anytime soon. No, not for ByuN at least. I mean, it's going very quickly for stats. I think this one's going to go his way. So, I mean, is this just the series just going to end 5-0? Like at this rate, it feels like it. I'll try and not be doom and gloom, but it's not been a great one so far as Stalkers come in. The Viking gets taken down, some tanks going to unsiege. And still pressing a bit closer forward. Meanwhile, Zealot's going to go charging across the map into that natural mineral line, and a few of them going to try and knock down the front door. ByuN's just going to leave without the main fight. GG. This is not turning out to be the super fun series I was hoping it would be. ByuN is 0-4 right now. Stats just needs one more map to clean up house and to take this one home. A stomp of a series so far from our blue Protoss on the top right-hand side. I mean, he's been in difficult positions and he's found a way out every time. And otherwise, it's just looked like he's been, you know, indestructible. You know, past the 4-minute mark, he looks indestructible. And then before the 4-minute mark, he looks like he can die, but then he finds a way back anyway. Stats, top right on Oxide. Our blue Protoss taking on the red Terran in the bottom left-hand side. Well, if there is ever an uphill battle to climb, it's this. ByuN needs to win 5 maps in a row. 5 maps in a row, guys. To win this show match doesn't seem likely. I always feel like in these show matches, and this isn't to be negative or saying the players do, you know, this is how it goes or anything, but I do feel like in these show matches, if you're down 0-4, it's so... even just like the feeling of like, oh my god, I'm so far down, it's like, that can affect your play, right? The one thing is, though, ByuN is not that kind of guy to get tilted. You know, if a lot of other players were kind of down 0-4, I think I'd be like, oh yeah, like, you know, if Rogue was down 0-4, I'd be like, yeah, Rogue's probably going to die, guys. Like, he's going to try something silly and just die, whatever. If Inno's down 0-4, he's probably proxy Draxing, you know. But if ByuN's down 0-4, I actually think ByuN really tries to keep it going. You know, ByuN is one of these players. He plays for every single game. He plays for the fans. He wants to put on entertainment for sure. You know, he's... I think he might play his heart out here just to try. I mean, nobody wants to get 5-0'd anyway as well. That's also a thing. That was a kill on the engineering bay, no cancel. That's 125 minerals. Well, there's 94 minerals right after what would have been the cancelled refund. There's 94 minerals he should have had. 100 minerals this early is a pretty big deal. Some mistake there from ByuN early on Oxide. Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is I don't think anyone ever really like just straight up gives up, but it gets to a point where you stop pulling out your best builds, where sometimes you're 0-4 down and the demoralization can really affect your play and your build choices, that little bit of a tilt coming in. No one wants to get 5-0'd, but some players don't get affected by that like others do, right? Like I don't think ByuN gets affected by that. But, you know, there's some other guys I could name and have that sort of similar effect. Let's see what ByuN brings this. The stats are going to switch it up completely. He's going to open with the Stargate. And to be fair, there's nothing really too much going on early until we see the starport coming down. So, okay. Stop goes down to the right side. Depth in the center. A couple of Hellions with the Marine going to go down the front, and obviously Command Center will come in behind all of this. So ByuN is once again looking for early damage. And to be fair, Stats has taken early damage. ByuN just needs to clean up on the follow-up to really save himself from kind of, you know, getting ahead and then falling back behind. It's a Phoenix first. This is such a quick Hellion drop, though. It's going to be, what, 1 Phoenix? Second one will be on the way when this Hellion drop hits. That's very limiting in terms of how much you really have to make this work. Okay. Well, Hellions are about to show up. The medevac will load them up. And we'll take them up into this main base. So here we go. 4 Hellions into the main. Phoenix out of position. Sees the starport now. A little bit late. Would have been nice to already put damage onto this medevac. 4 Hellions into the main. The Adepts are going to shade in after this. The Hellions actually going to be out of reach initially, so the first shot doesn't go down right off the bat. 10 workers, 11. This is good damage. 12 is great, even better, of course. And he could go to the natural, which is undefended. Only 1 Hellion left, though, as the Phoenix get a lift. If he gets those 2 probes, as they line up one more time, he doesn't. 12 workers, though, still not bad. Of course, remember, this is 12 workers with a later CC. That's why it hit much earlier. Usually, Phoenix can hard counter these Hellion drops, but if you go for it before you go expansion, they just hit that a little bit sooner, so the Phoenix actually aren't that great of a setup. As the 2 Phoenix do get down to the bottom side, going to start chasing the starport away. Robo facility is down over in the main base. The Phoenix coming through, and this starport still taking some hits. Cyclone locks on. Adept takes some damage. Adept shade in. No, ByuN. No! You're doing it again. You get into a really good position, then something goes wrong, and this is it. 7 workers going down to the Adept shade into the main. Why are the Adepts even in the main? Obviously, the Phoenix having a bit... I mean, the Phoenix didn't even do that much, actually. The Phoenix didn't use their lift energy just yet, so they're saving it. Oh, why were the Adepts in the main? Now the barracks are delayed. He hasn't fixed that yet. Is this just ByuN's kryptonite? He can't win after getting ahead early? Like, he just is destined to take damage? And hey, this puts this game right back in the balance. You know, you look at this, it's a 9-worker lead from Stats. Army lead from ByuN. Of course, we are playing Phoenix this time, and that's something different to look at. Maybe there's some potential. Okay, well, double lift off. 2 Phoenix aren't going to kill a Cyclone, so the double lift is good to cancel the lock-ons, but he should have dropped one back down to have more Phoenix damage on one of the Cyclones, honestly. Engineering bay on the back of this natural. Starport's about to finish up the reactor. Stimpack's still building the main base of ByuN as the factory is going to finish its reactor to give him some extra reduction, but... okay. First Colossus on the way as the Phoenix are going to come back through into this natural. Going to find an SCV, building a refinery, a few Marines down the bottom side. Well, Widow Mines on the way out then, so... Widow Mines, I guess Medivacs will start up shortly. Doesn't have the gas for it, though. Doesn't have the gas for it at all. Purple Bay building that extended thermal lens. Third Nexus drops into the top side. Phoenix gonna show up and SCV will go down. Phoenix doesn't quite drop just yet as... Well, here comes a bit of a push from ByuN. Marine Cyclone. There's no tank support. I mean, as soon as the Colossus count gets up a little bit, Marine pushes like this will do nothing. I guess he's not going to go yet. He's going to get a couple Marauders, and he'll wait for the upgrades, so... Then we will have everything joined up together. Yeah, I'm just trying to see how ByuN, or what ByuN does necessarily. I mean, his army supply is good. I think you can always take a good fight. You've got to remember some of this army supply of, you know, stats are in, is in Phoenix that... Well, haven't done as much as they could have done, right? They have energy. They could have lifted off a lot more SCVs. They could have done a lot more there. Four prisms on the way from stats in the main base. Now, as the extended thermal lance comes in to finish in, we see charges on the way, plus 1 attack is on the way. Stats coming through. Phoenix are going to finally start to lift some of these SCVs, so that's going to be good damage done here from Stats. Medevac's going to move to the upper right-hand side. And Stats sits between a couple of these bases, and... Well, let's see what this drop can do. Into the main base, Phoenix just recalled. Okay, but they don't actually jump on the Medivacs right away, so this drop on the main is something to worry about, and a push on the left-hand side. I don't think Stats was meant to let this drop get into the main base. It's going to lose the rover facility, perhaps. Okay, you'll, with the Phoenix, force a fight. On the left, there's a Colossus. The other Colossus turns around to get to the main. This main is in some serious problems. This drop is good for the moment. A lot of probes going down. He doesn't finish the robo, so there will be a disruptor out in a little bit. But meanwhile, this push into the third, I mean, Super Battery here is not going to save the day because the battery's already low HP, so he gets it. He gets the Colossus. Sentries go down too, and ByuN is going to push in to maybe get a killing blow here. Looks like the Disruptor got a few kills, but some Marines saving themselves. Another Colossus. It's enough from ByuN. The drop pulls Stats out of position. It splits Stats up enough, and the army supply advantage then from ByuN is able to come through and win out. And ByuN will get a map on the scoreboard to fight back from this 0-4 deficit in the Best of 9 series. Another chance to win the series. He's going to have a few of these. Blue Protoss player in the top left from the Afrika Freaks is Stats. And yeah, it's when one thing falls apart, everything else fell apart. The Phoenix recall, but then they don't go on the Medivacs right away, so that main base drop became much more of an issue. And then because the drop got unloaded, Stats didn't have enough in the main. So then he has to respond to that, and then obviously he doesn't have enough on the left side, and everything goes wrong as ByuN, our Red Terran, bottom right-hand side, gets on the scoreboard. We have a series! It's not going to be a 5-0. As the barracks drops in. over on the side. So not really a proxy Rax, but a Rax hidden out on the map. One that will maybe cause stats to overreact. I like it. That's something we haven't seen a lot of lately. You know, when the Prawn Rax proxy meta was a thing, this was a big way to play, but we really have not seen a lot of that for quite some time now. Probe up into the main base. There's just a little bit of a scat around. We have our Cybercore down from stats in the front and just going to be seeing the Nexus building up on the natural. This is going to be the factory also at the front. Okay, this is getting very interesting now then, because this is now becoming a bit more of a problem. It's still not like super proxied, but oh, he's going to build a reactor out here too. I mean, stats is going to... The last place I check if I'm stats is like here, right? Like, to me, that's just it's just... To me, it's not going to be there. So yeah, to me, stats is going to be blind this entire time. I'm sort of like, a lot, but... Okay, ByuN building up a little bit. So what's he going to do? He's just going to build Hellions and then just go? People will complete on this high ground, so stats does not get any further info into the main base. Okay, this one Marine comes back. I kind of like this, because to me, this sort of shows that this, you know, barracks isn't far away, so then stats is like, oh, maybe there's not much of a proxy. You know? Barracks is heading home as well. It's the two Hellions on the way out, and Starport is in the main base as well. Yeah, it's just a big mind game from ByuN early on, trying to make things happen. Well, Hellion's going to pop. Zealot coming in from the left-hand side. I mean, now you know about the Hellions at least. You actually get to see that the factory is right there. Yeah, so he knows where the factory is and he sees two Hellions. So Stats knows exactly what's up. Oh, an armory, though. Don't see an armory very often. Is he going to start building Widow Mines? Yes, he is. So, Hellions, Widow Mines with the armory. Obviously, the armory mostly for the cloaking of the Widow Mines. However, I do wonder a little bit about... is there some way you can possibly do something Morphin and Hellbats in this? His stats has just gone straight up into now 4 gateways, but this is just a wall-off in 4th gate. But 3 gates on the map right now. He has a lot of gateway units to kind of counter-attack with. And that's a pretty big thing. If you just counter with gateway units when your opponent's been building a lot of Hellions and so on. But he's going to be... He has no detection, so he's going to die to Widow... Well, he's not going to die to Widow Mines, but he's going to not be able to clean them up, so there's going to be a lot of denied mining time. Every time these Widow Mines come off cooldown, Stats is going to have to pull the workers again. Until he builds a Robo, builds an Observer. And that does take quite a bit of time. That's at least 3 shots from these Widow Mines, most likely. Yeah, I mean, this is, again, frustrating. He's just going to leave this one here. There is no detection. Units are warping in across the map from Stats. Now he's going to do the same on the natural. And the best part is he's going to put these bases out of sync. So it's not like you just pull the main, then you pull the natural straight after. The timing is a little bit wrong for that. Now there's Widow Mines at the front as well. These Hellions are going to dive by into the natural too. Stalkers are pushing the Terran base. Let's see what these Hellions can do first, because the Stalkers are walled out from the main base as Hellions get in over here. This Widow Mine's about to go off. And I mean, I think the Widow Mines on the natural are going to get some more done as well. Widow Mine gets a unit kill. These Widow Mines are pushed further forward across the map. The Stalkers do break down a depot and get into the main, but there's a Banshee on the way defensively. A couple more Marines coming through. This attack is obviously most powerful when you get the units from across the map coming in, but obviously these units are all back at home defending still, so Stats doesn't have the full power of this attack. You can see how good it would be if he'd been able to clean this up and just go. Observer on the way to Hellions back in the main. These Widow Mines are going to fire yet again. This one's already lining up, and it's going to get the Stalker. No, it actually gets the probe. Stalker would not have been a bad connection, though. Observer finally going to be out. The Hellions are gone. Now, I mean, now you got Banshee Marines over here defending these Stalkers, and ByuN, well, he's still on one base, but that's probably going to lead into another attack. I can't believe these Widow Mines are still having such a good time. As they move a bit further forward, the Observer is finally going to be here. He'll at least deny mining for a little bit longer. Just a little bit. Banshee on the way to the upper left side as well. This is a fun build. Obviously still one base just now expanding, so You're up by 5 SCVs. This Banshee's going to show up. You know what? This Banshee has Cloak as well, and now everything's on the map. Okay, this Banshee's going to show up. It's going to kill a bunch of probes. This might even be a GG from stats, because realistically, what does he have? Yeah, he really has nothing at all. Like, the best he could do is maybe use energy to recall stalkers, and then you can shoot down the Banshee, and then you're just not doing anything. And I think stats just realizes where he's at in the game, and I think the GG is apt. I don't think he really has much potential on the other side. Are you ready for some more StarCraft 2? ByuN is fighting back in this series. He's given us something to be hyped about. Not just going to let this go 5-0. 2 maps in a row. And now a third chance to win the series from stats. Our blue Protoss bottom left. Top right, our red Terran player ByuN. Bringing it back a little bit. Keeping it really, I will not lie, still very heavily reliant on the aggression to help him get into a better position for sure. As this refinery goes down, SCV is going to be popping out of the command center. We have a probe already making its way up to the top side of the map. Going to get a nibble on an SCV right there. Gateway coming through refinery in the main base. Just going to see our probe of stats. Going to get up into the main. And it's going to nibble away that SCV as well. So SCV taking some damage. Going to fight back against that probe. And, yeah, that's for it for the moment. That's it. So, Jagannatha, nice big map. Obviously a nice long map. Definitely one where we could see a longer game. Typically has in TVP led into some of those longer scenarios. Easily defendable 4 bases is one of the big things about this map, right? You know, it ramps up into... They're kind of spread out, but it's choke points, it's ramps, and so disruptors do very well there. Colossi, the Protoss splash damage. Tanks and mines and ghosts do very well there. The one thing that I think Terrans have had the most success with on this map is probably the drop play. A lot of dead airspace over here just before the main. Obviously, if this base is taken, you've got 2 options from this dead airspace. And yeah, I think the drop play may be the best part, especially on a, again, large map, right? So if your opponent's off on the map trying to attack, the counter drops can then be extremely effective and extremely successful too, right? So something else to think about. Marine gets a probe. Factory is halfway done from ByuN in the main. The reactor building on the barracks, and just seeing the pylon and the nexus on this natural going to be finishing up shortly. A quick little chrono boost on the adept. And stats will just continue to bring this into play as well, as our nexus sets up on the natural expansion. So everything looking good. Factory is going to take off. Is going to land on the reactor. So Hellions again. Yep. I mean, ByuN has been very reliant on the Hellions in terms of early game aggression to get ahead. And obviously, it's not been working out every single time for him, but it has been successful for the most part. And even games he's lost, he's had success with the Hellions. I'd say that's been the most successful part of this entire game, or entire series for ByuN. Consistently, at least, as you see a Stargate going to be finishing in a few moments. So yeah, a couple of Hellions, but going into a second racks, no starport here. And we'll see if the starport gets added on. But with the second racks, sort of suggests that we're just going to see a good amount of bio. And that's what we set up for. Mule lands into the main base mineral line, and other than that, we do have the Phoenix on the way out. So stats obviously try to go Phoenix back on the previous map, not the last one, but the one before that on Oxide. And it didn't work out because... I mean, ByuN basically went for a Hellion drop that hit super early, so you only have 1 Phoenix. So then we never really got to see much of the Phoenix from there, right? They didn't even do that much, right? I mean, ByuN then fell behind, but the Phoenix didn't do anything to help stats get back ahead, I feel like, or to also recover, because he never really harassed as much as I would have liked to have seen with them. Like, they were on the map as... Oops, my bad. Sorry, Hellions have already made their way into this mineral line. And they're actually having a success story yet again. How many times is this going to happen today? Super battery goes down to save them. 7 probes killed, though. And Hellions in the main. Another battery here. But yes, to continue on about the Phoenix, it's really a scenario where these Phoenix have, again, well, not again and again, but I would have liked to see more from them. I feel like they could have gotten a few more kills. They could have been a bit more adventurous and opened up more of an advantage for stats. And then they were out of position for the drop. Then they weren't useful in the drop, so... We'll see how Stats can use them this time. See if he can really leverage a better advantage with them, especially as 7 probes go down. There's definitely work to be done here to bring Stats a bit further back into this. As our Phoenix go up through to the top and turn back around, they'll get an SCV on this building refinery. The bunker about to finish on the natural, and Stempak still building from ByuN in the main base. A starport up on the top side. And getting a couple of adepts, the few Phoenix. All joining up together. Another Phoenix that will make its way towards the upper side of the map here. Back away through the center. Stimpak plus 1 attack. Continuing through. Starport's going to swap over to the reactor. Factory comes over to the tech lab. Rax drops down, and that's going to have the Cyclone with a lock on there to push the Phoenix back away through the center. Full of extra Marines continuing to come out as we'll see the Robo Bay about to finish up from Stats. So we're finishing off the Robo Bay here. ByuN still has a few units over in the corner. Observer from Stats into the top. And Colossi will come in. So, Stats starts to get comfortable on 3 bases. And one of the big points of what we saw in the earlier games that did go toward 8, 9, 10 minutes was that Stats really looked impenetrable. Once he got up to 3 bases, you know, he took a damage before the 5-minute marker. But from that point on, he always looked really, really good defensively. Now, this is a game where ByuN obviously didn't really take any damage himself early, as that Phoenix got a little adventurous there, does get away alive. So ByuN didn't get, got a bit of an advantage early, but not as much as in the previous games. But then also, he didn't get counterattacked. So finally, maybe ByuN can do something in the mid game because Stats doesn't have that kind of those building blocks to stand on of, oh, you know, I had a strong defense initially to build up from and stuff like that. As our Marines will go around to the left, a few Phoenix setting up, Twilight Council, and the Forge on the way in the natural. Extended Thermal Lance still taking along ByuN. Turn everything back over to the right-hand side. The Observer sitting out overhead, and you'll see the Medevac with a couple of siege tanks. Gonna go moving down the right, so yeah, first push of ByuN as you'll take a 3rd CC behind it. Like I say, it's got more potential, more hope than I felt about a lot of ByuN's earlier pushes. You know, again, he is the one with the stronger setup initially, so let's go. Phoenix getting locked onto. They will lift to cancel the lock-ons. As ByuN doesn't get the tank sieged up though before this fight starts, and the first tank takes a lot of hits as it gets ready to siege. Stats will back away. Now ByuN going to drop into the main base. He is supported a little bit by these tanks. Not really. I thought the tanks might have actually covered a little bit more of this area, but okay, I mean, ByuN has a lot. He's up 30 army supplies, so 30 army supply and an attack upgrade. So there's a couple of opportunities here definitely for ByuN, but you got to be careful. That Colossus will do a lot of splash to the Marines. Continue through, a couple tanks sieging up. Phoenix going to come in for the initial lift. Zealots are not on charge. Maybe Stats could, I mean, I feel like Stats didn't really need to take this fight of all the fights. He's been doing a good job of just backing away and ignoring fights from up until now. Don't know if he could have just done the same here because those Zealots didn't have charge. You wait another half a minute and you do have charge. Maybe just afraid of how close ByuN's tanks are starting to get, so he felt like he had to pull the trigger. In the end, it kind of works out okay. Just felt like those Zealots were extremely ineffective compared to what they would have been, you know, given another 10 seconds from now. But I appreciate that's a long time. And whoa! Just lifted up a Colossus into the prism, but then just got killed. And man, these Zealots are charging forward again without charge, but to finally finish the charge as they get through. Splash damage from the tanks actually hitting the tanks themselves, and in the end, ByuN's going to get cleaned up. Stats floating a bit of money that he needs to find a chance to spend as well. Get those robo facilities active and make sure you don't miss those warp-ins. Spend that money, Stats. I mean, he does also go into Blink and +1, which will, +1 armor that is, to help him along. Okay, well, ByuN will not break Stats on Jagannath. He will go back home, 3 bases. And dare I say, we kind of enter a 3-base versus 3-base scenario where both plays are kind of alright. I feel like Maybe you could argue Death Aura was kind of like that. Death Aura was a longer game. I'm pushing down the bottom. Good lift on the tank there is stemming up. Disruptor goes down. First Disruptor falls. As the Stalker's coming through, going to get rid of one Viking. A second Viking picked off as well. Fire's going to stem up. A few of these Stalkers going down, and did a pretty decent job of this. Medivacs are going to lift up and go to the main base, so into the main they will fly. Zealots and try and chase. I like what ByuN's doing, keeping active, moving around a lot. Blink isn't done, right? So Blink isn't done. The Phoenix Familiar go down. There's not a lot of drop defense, so you know ByuN has a lot of time. He can continue to move around, find new positions, just drop places because there's very little threat. He can always just lift up and leave once again if he starts to get into trouble. 2-2 on the way on the engineering base. We'll see the Disruptors continuing through. Stats will set up out in the center. In the bottom corner, these ByuNs going to stem in. A couple of these Zealots will go down pretty quick. We also have these other ByuNs going to get around the back. Zealots taking a bit more damage. Gonna stems through, and that's gonna be a couple of Disruptors he can take down right away. All three Disruptors fired though, so the third one connects. I mean, I would say it's nice that you're starting to get rid of the Disruptor camp, but Stalkers now have Blinks. The drop defense is that little bit better too. Maybe ByuN has to switch up his strategy a little bit for the game now that Stats has survived to a different stage of this. And a huge part though is that ByuN's now gonna get a fourth base up and running, continuing to control the map, getting a fourth base up while Stats sits back on, well, now a fourth base of his own, starting to build. But yeah, usually the Protoss is expanding earlier than the Terran player, so it really goes to show the pressure ByuN's applied. Stats has never really been on like a worker lead against ByuN in this. He had a little wow, I took a big eco advantage. I'm not sure what that was about 5 minutes ago, but now it's definitely come back into ByuN's favor. Disruptor shots fly, and now these are the fights I don't like as much for ByuN on paper because, you know, this is kind of pure bio taking on a lot of tech, and I feel at this sort of point, these armies kind of need ghosts in them, but honestly, it didn't go as badly as I thought it would. So credit to ByuN. He picks a fight that's actually okay, and looks like now he'll focus on maybe cleaning out these Zealots. Again, I would love to see the Ghost Academy coming down. I think that's the real next stage of this. Something just later game focused to really kind of deal with this army as it progresses from stats. Right now, ByuN is still just trying to play that bio style. I mean, it's literally pure bio as well. Like a couple of tanks, but really not that much. Yeah, to me, this is very much so like a 5 to 9 minute army. And we're now 12 and a half, 13 minutes into this game. It's time for something different. It's time to attack up a bit further. Again, the upgrade lead is the one reason it can maybe work. But it's dangerous, right? Because you don't have a way to, like, you know, you don't have the EMPs to take the Disruptors low on energy right, or low on shields right away, so they're not easily targetable, so then the Disruptors keep you back. You don't have Liberators to help you zone and create positions that are advantageous to you. And it's not like your tank count is high to, like, siege up a bunch of tanks to then help you shoot down Disruptors and Colossi from a distance. And back into the center here. We'll see the Zealots charging through. Bio is able to kind of intercept. Stalkers blink forward into this fight. ByuN kind of moves back nicely there. That Disruptor overfired. Could have hit both the tanks. Only hit one. Has to lift up to minimize losses. As these Zealots do win at least. So Stats wins part of the fight that's going on the map. Otherwise having to back away though. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to control those Disruptors in the speed zones because they go even faster than usual. So you can easily misjudge how far they're going to go if you kind of forget about it for the moment, right? It's something that you don't maybe immediately have on your mind. So as we'll charge forward in. There's a couple more Marauders from the top side. Now, again, ByuN's still just trading on this kind of low-tech bio force, but you're going to see the upgrades here. +2 attack and +1 armor really helps against those Zealots. And to me, that's the one reason, again, ByuN is really able to maybe stick on what is, again, kind of pure bio with very minimal tank support. And the two tanks are up on the top side of the map. This is pure Bio that's pushing through the bottom right now. I mean, Stats has all of his tech units out to the left-hand side, but now here's the problem. Those tech units are all on their own. Not really any support for them. Then takes a few shots, is forced back away. Medivacs will load up. Ghost Academy finally coming through. I just would have liked to see this a little bit sooner. I feel like ByuN's doing good with what he's got. I just feel like the ghosts only make the game easier for him. But I can also appreciate that it maybe feels like if he lets up the pressure, Stats gets into a better spot. And that's obviously, you know, a little bit more problematic as well. And it's still chasing forward. Bio will unload into this mineral line. A few Stalkers and Zealots warping in. I see a recall of the army back home. I love this, though. You know, this is where ByuN is going to excel. If you're going to keep on bringing this army back. You know, we talked about the size of this map earlier, and right now, Stats is never getting a chance to get close to moving across it. As ByuN just keeps him busy elsewhere on the map at any point in time. Comes in, he's going to get a lot of probes on this base. I was going to say initially maybe the base on the left side cancel would be better, but you get 11 workers killed. I think that's always a trade you want to be taking, as he'll get an Archon as he leaves as well. And he might even still get this base if Stats doesn't want to move too far forward. Down over here, it's a few Zealots. It's an Archon that's not even morphed just yet. This base on the left side does survive. Archon at least finishes morphing just after the Zealots are gone, though, so it's the next target up. And now it's still pushing through. A super battery is forced to be used on the bottom. Stats goes up the left. Suddenly ByuN's back through the center. So another army coming in. This time he is going to get this base. And the continued movement around the map from ByuN is genuinely impressive. He does a really good job of this so far. Fantastic stuff as you're going to be seeing the bio from ByuN escaping away off up to the top of the map. Wow. Bio setting up to the top side. We'll see how Ghost about to finish. Marines and Marauders still pouring out. ByuN will land at Command Center in the upper left as well. Shadow Stride building on the Dark Shrine. ByuN will be moving down, and EMP is good. Disrupt the shot. Doesn't quite land. The other Bio army coming around the right side has to split away. Takes a hit on the Marauders. Another group of Marauders going down. And another group. Disruptor shots here have been really good so far for ByuN as he jumps on the left base. I think I said disruptor shots have been really good for ByuN. The disruptor shots have been really good for Stats to slow ByuN down. But ByuN gets the base now, and he's just working. I mean, if these disruptors are on cooldown, he's just working on so little other damage, right? This Archon goes down. He's going to stim up here. That Disruptor gets denied. This one he lifts up against, and then he'll back away from it. Zal's getting a little bit stuck on the edges. ByuN's played a pretty great game, hasn't he? He's played a very fun game. Obviously, he really kept Stats on 3 bases for a long time. That was a big part initially. Now he's going to keep Stats on, well, 4 bases. And that's another huge part of this, just expanding faster than the Protoss, so you can trade like this. Because of it, he's had a higher army all the time, so he's continuing to trade better. That Disruptor shot is good, though. And again, Stats needs more Disruptors like that, but ByuN's already peeled an army away to the bottom side. Stats is like, I'm gonna clean you out up here. ByuN's like, I'm gonna kill your base down here, and Stats is just super out of location. There is no way he gets back in time to defend this, and even as he gets back across, I mean, there's potential to maybe just pick off Disruptor. Stats just gonna type GG. As ByuN bullies his way to another map win. 18 minutes on Jagannatha. And ByuN is still alive after being 0-4 down. He has won 3 in a row to bring it back. One more. And we are talking about a potential ace match in a series I was convinced was going to end in 5 games. Okay, another attempt to win this series from our Blue Protoss player Stats in the upper left corner. Taking on the Red Terran, who kept the map control that time. ByuN really in game number 7, I think that was key. You know, you're able to take the map control, you're able to keep it, and your opponent just never really got on the map, right? Really struggled to get anything else done there. SCV building up a depot on the top of this ramp. No SCV moving onto the map or anything just yet. Now, this is Submarine, so after 7 maps have been played, we go back onto the map pool and it refreshes. So basically, each player gets to pick one map that was already played, and ByuN here, I imagine, picked Submarine. This is a map that Stats won earlier. This map was kind of brutal. Like, ByuN just never really got anything going. I think it was map 4, and it was just... ByuN just didn't find anything. Like, he was stuck on 2 bases. He was trying to move out. You know, Stats was stood here, keeping him pinned back. He had Zealots off to the left-hand side that were ready to run in at any point in time. They pulled ByuN back a couple times, and ByuN just got to like 9.5 minutes with an army that was meant to push at 6 minutes, and it was just game, right? It just wasn't even close. So we didn't even get to see the final fight of that game, if I remember correctly. So back to Submarine. We'll see what adjustments ByuN maybe makes this time around. Center builds on the natural. Probe trying to get in here as the pylon of Stats sets up across the map. Next is coming through. Probe is going to return home as our command center comes in. Very standard stuff at the moment for Submarine. We'll see if ByuN changes this up at all. See if he pulls a quicken out of the bag. Seems like no so far. We're going to be seeing a second barracks building from ByuN in the main. So a 2-racks opener, something we've really not seen much of. We've seen him go like factory into second racks, but we've not seen him just... I think one game he went 2 racks, right? I can't remember what game that was. There was one game where he went 2 racks early, and he went... Did he go 3cc with it or something? He also goes early engineering bay. I think this is going to be a fun build from ByuN. He's going to go for an early +1, and then maybe even like combat shields, and like a combat shield marine push has some potential, especially against the Stargate. There's +1. I think you go tech lab, and then I think combat shields would line up with this. Stim wouldn't exactly line up, but the thing is with a Stim, usually combat shields comes with this because Stim would be damaging the Marines and you don't have any healing, whereas combat shields only adds to the Marines, right? With combat shield, you don't need the support of medevacs or anything to make this a success story. Okay, let's see what he goes for. I'm calling combat shields. That's Stim, okay. I thought maybe we see like something combat. Like it's kind of a weird one anyway. If he goes combat shield, it's obviously very strange, very different, but it's not unheard of. So I put my logic out there. It didn't follow through. It is going to be Stim. I mean, there's also a world where you attack with Stim and +1, and you just say, well, I'm going to take some damage on my Marines, but they're still just going to do so much damage. The damage I take from stimming doesn't really matter. Stim is going to be done quite a bit behind this +1, though, so we'll see when he wants to move properly out. He might just not even do anything, like, early in the game. Like, he might not even move out. He might just say, cool, I'm going to get fast +1. That means I'll get to fast 1-1. And then maybe it's a later game timing that actually comes out of this from ByuN. That's also a way to look at this. Maybe it's not even about Stim with the push. Maybe you go Stim and then combat shields and then you push, you know? Okay, Phoenix up on the high ground. Marines coming over. There's the factory finally on the way through. His Stats just going to go Robobay, and I don't mind that. You see a lot of racks early. You know, a fast third base is the downfall for Stats here, because then the Marine attack, it just does too much. You know, this is really designed to stop the third base coming up quickly for sure. So here we go, moving across the map. Robobay not done yet as well. I mean, Stim is a few seconds away. Double shield battery defensively. That's the problem. I don't think you do anything if the shield batteries are there, which is why I think this is just a check for third base. And if ByuN stims into fight, I'm shocked. Let's see what he does. I think this is fine, but if he stims in and goes into the natural, I'm truly surprised. He's going to try and dive. Yeah. Not really. He's mostly kind of zoning the units, right? He's not going to commit to a big fight known as super battery potential is there. He's just trying to push units back and get a little bit of chip damage done, but he doesn't really gain much, and now he does back away. This is the important part. Keeping the Marines alive allows him to obviously have a larger army for later when other upgrades finish, medevacs kick in. Comes back up. He's really trying to catch a third base building, but no luck so far. He's going to stem back down. Stalker's an adept, so there to keep the Marines back. This Marine's going to get picked off as well, so a couple of Marines already going down. A couple of Phoenix from stats still on the bottom side, and yeah, the Marine's going to go home. I mean, not many really left. How many went down? 13 Marines, and he didn't kill a single unit. But what has ByuN done that maybe doesn't come up in the unit's kill tab, right? He delayed the third base a lot. He forced double shield battery. He's gotten himself into an equal worker count game. You know, there are benefits to what ByuN has done here. Yes, it may not have been like a straight-up trade. You know, it is inefficient for ByuN so far, but there are other costs that don't show up in that resources lost tab, which early in the game have an effect. High up toward the top. A couple of Phoenix still moving around. AlphaX of ByuN are going to fly over to the left, and seems like these Phoenix don't quite know where they want to go to. It's like the medevac's going to boost up in behind this natural. So here we go. Starting to unload. Bio will, well, get into a good position. These few Stalkers can't really do anything. They don't have an upgrade. They can't blink away. And that's just Stalkers dying. 4 probes killed. 2 Colossi show up. And, I mean, ByuN turns around to pick off a Phoenix. Now you got a few units simming into the third. And even if you just deny one of the batteries, he even starts to heal the battery up. Just keeping the batteries alive gives you a lot more longevity in this position. ByuN comes back in. He got a pylon. He's going to get a few more probes. So he's continuing to deal damage in the back of the natural now, lifting up to go into the main base. I gotta say, it kind of feels the last few games ByuN has been starting to just pick stats apart. And to turn that around from how stats was defending earlier is truly crazy. Because it's really been... You know, if you look at the first 4 games and stats looked past the 5-minute mark, I'll say it one more time. I know I've said it a lot, but he looked really unbeatable. And now ByuN is controlling these games. He's moving stuff around, some interesting builds to get him into fun positions, and he's making the most of them. Right now, 1-1. Worker lead from ByuN as he moves out to third base. So worker lead, upgrade lead. Army's about even. As Vikings shut down the prism, so no harassment allowed. Goodbye to that Warpers, and that's huge as well, because that stops ByuN. That's one of the main ways that Stats is so good at moving into bases. It's so good at getting stuff done. That's really nicely done. I mean, it's like one of the main ways that Stats can just stop ByuN moving out. It can deal a lot of damage. It's difficult and expensive to deal with. Really good to shut that down there, as Bio Army still setting up down the bottom side. A few Zealots off to the left. The hallucination is circling around in the center. Blink starting up on the Twilight Council, +1 armor on the Forge. Still seeing this little bit of bio from ByuN moving out across to the left-hand side. Templar Archives in the main. There's a few tanks will on siege. Moving forward at the moment. Big push right now from ByuN. Hallucination gets shut down, so hallucination will fall. Central siege up by only back around the right. Gonna be seeing the shots onto the batteries, taking some hits. First disruptor shot goes forward. The Vikings on top of those Colossi. Second disruptor shot is real good on top of the tanks. Stats just does not have enough. There's so much bio here. The disruptor on the tanks is nice for cleaning out the tanks, but you also need to be able to get rid of the bio, and the bio here is obviously just going to be too much. Didn't really need the tank fire to finish this one out as he gets rid of the Colossus. It's maybe just about a hold from Stats, but then you're going to have another wave of bio moving across, and then there's just going to be way too much in play. Holy crap, are we going to a game 9? Like, I can't quite believe it still, even with ByuN's current position. In game 8, this series turned around incredibly. I mean, just every, ByuN looks like a different player almost. Stats looks like a different player. Coming through, a couple of Archons go down. Disruptors up this ramp. Well, ByuN's going to back away. Disruptor shot will fly and not quite connect. Another disruptor shot. Marauders getting caught by that one. I mean, he forced the probes off the mineral line. Going to fight these Zards. They're going to be the most difficult part to get rid of. And I think most importantly, getting rid of the disruptors so they can't strike once again. Obviously, every disruptor kill just makes less and less chances of coming back into the game for stats. ByuN will tie this series up. 4-4. Game 8 goes ByuN's way. He's won 4 in a row to recover from an 0-4 deficit. Oh my god, I did a doom and gloom series is over monologue in game 5, and here we are, 4 maps later, going to the freaking ace match. Wow. Top left-hand side. His final chance to actually win this series. He was up 4-0. He's lost 4 in a row. It's stats, and he just needs to get it together. He had such a good first few games, even when behind. He's been able to turn it around. As in the bottom right, our red Terran player is ByuN. Four in a row. I mean, obviously, like, stats won 4 in a row as well, but winning 4 in a row when you've lost 4 in a row already feels just crazy. What a turnaround so far. Can he get one more map? Let's find out. Let's see if he will start. Moving up to the top side. CV moving along here. Gateway coming down on the front lines, and it's an engineering bay block, so we've seen ByuN do this previously. Stats will pull the probes to shut down the SCV, put some damage onto that engineering bay, and make sure that he can start to put a comfortable hold to this. Then just backs away, full on that SCV still. So it will be the factory from ByuN as the next step as stats continues through into the natural, moving around a little bit. Factory is down from ByuN. So factory gets started. We do have the cybernetics core on the front of the natural. Probe of stats backs away. Reactor on the way up in this barracks. Factory coming through. Okay, I mean, very much so what we expect so far. You know, this is obviously stats map pick. I'm pretty sure ByuN picked submarine. Stats picking death, or it really says to me he wants to just get to 3-4 bases, and from there he's comfortable. And I don't disagree. This is definitely not the sort of map that's as easy to kind of take over and control like ByuN has been doing the last few games. Stats walls low ground to stop a Hellion run by as well, so he is preparing in a few different ways to kind of make sure this doesn't do much. Twilight Council as well. I think it's a safe map pick. I think Stats is just going to play safe to try and get into the later stages of this. I think that's got to be the plan here. I think that's got to be the way to try and make this happen. Couple of Hellions on the way out. Starport. Sorry, that's not Starport. That's the extra barracks on the way. So we're going to skip the Starport for now. It's just ready for it to be the Starport. We had Starport on my mind, just my complete expectation. Hellion going to go in a couple different directions. They are going to split off and look for any proxy potential, and then, of course, maybe even go across the map. Tech Lab to finish on the rack, so we'll get Stimpack started here. Unless we're going to do a swap to ruin this racks and factory, but I imagine this factory... Oh, we are! Ah, so we're going to get a siege tank up early. Or a Cyclone if he doesn't feel safe. Okay, a Cyclone initially. He doesn't know what it is, so he wants to play safe in case this is like a Stargate play. The Cyclone really then does help out. A Siege Tank obviously would have been the better choice here because he doesn't really need the Cyclone against what is now turned out to be a Blink opener where Blink isn't even that quick. So, you know, the Cyclone won't have much of a role to play, but you can't just, you know, again, ByuN doesn't have the information we have, and that's why he'll go a Cyclone for the safety. And then I guess we'll go into Siege Tank reduction from here. And then I guess this barracks can take a Tech Lab. Might even go to this Tech Lab to start up Stimpack, so really is just a safety Cyclone, keep him covered, and Now this factory will move over here and maybe react to starport, and you go into like a medevac drop with Marines. That would be my next prediction along, although I've not been too on point this game so far. Aliens wanted to come back up to the front. Unable to at the moment, as our blink is about halfway along. Stim pack from ByuN in the main base. And again, a few extra Marines continue to build. A couple extra Stalkers will warp in. These Hellions will back away out down through the center of the map. Stim pack is coming up here from ByuN, and it is going to be that starport reactor. So he's looking for this kind of Marine drop follow-up. These early Hellions haven't done much, but they are keeping an eye on things. They're watching for a third base being taken. Stats will go Robo Bay before third, and that's something we've seen from him already in some of these previous games too. Hellions back over through the top side. A few Stalkers at the front, but with a bunker here, not a lot of potential apart from maybe a blink in the main. Is the scariest thing you could do. But I don't think we're going to see that. This might be a blink up here and then actually get a couple SCVs. That's a cute position. I like it. And stats, you can see he's thinking about it. He missed the blink with 2 of the Stalkers, though. 4 Stalkers, 1 shot in SCV. 2 Stalkers will obviously take twice as many shots. And that wasn't quite what Stats was looking for. He was looking for something a little bit easier there for sure. That was a little bit of a shame. Hellions will continue to the top side. Couple Stalkers setting up. Forge drops down in the main. Couple of gates get going. And these Hellions turn back around to the right side. Nexus goes up on the third base. So gets that ready to start. Extended Thermal Lance is going on the Robo base. So Extended Thermal Lance on the way up. You can see the few Stalkers continuing through. Really kind of back to basics for stats here. Very traditional, very much. I mean, a lot of what he's done earlier in the series and what he tried to get back to more recently after the, if he wasn't going for the Stargates. I mean, that's stats in a nutshell. He will do what works for him, what sets him up into a good macro position. If he knows it can get him there, he'll just do it again and again and again. Marines and Hellions joining up, going to start picking their way through these rocks. So rocks will take a good amount of damage here to start off. On the top side, the few Stalkers and the Colossus go one way. We scan down to the bottom side here from ByuN. Looks like he picked off an Observer. Very passive in terms of what's being killed. I mean, even the early game, Hellions are still around. Not a lot's happened at all for 7 minutes of this. Probably been the calmest game we've had so far. Without like a lot about to happen. This Colossus is in some trouble. Sentries need to save the day. Batteries are going to be there. Now you're going to escape to the right side and catch a few Stalkers. Good recovery from stats. I'm still afraid about these 2 Colossi being on their own. Marines are going to stim again. Is ByuN chasing for something he just can't get? I think he is. ByuN losing a lot. Not really getting anything. Tanks were still not sieged up. The first one only gets 1 shot. Now Stalkers blinking the right side to kill this tank. And it will go down. The Stalkers will pay with their lives. The first Colossus finally falls. As we're going to be seeing Marines in trouble. Stalkers still blinking back. It's really close. As a few Zealots come through from the top side. They are going to go charging down. A couple of units just jumping into those medevacs as they continue to the bottom of the map here. Third CC is going to finish shortly. Templar Archives on the way up. The Forge and another Robo coming through. So, stats looking comfortable. I think this was a lot of losses here from ByuN. I mean, good that he got a Colossus. You look at the income graph. Stats is killing it. 3 bases, 70 probes. 4th base has got to be on his mind. There's something to go into in the very near future here. Marines stem in. They're going to grab an Observer. So, Observer will go down. Gravitic Drive on the way up on the Robo base still. And the rest of the Bio Army coming back along. Templar Archives about to finish up on the natural. As that Prism loads up for Zell, it's going to go across to the left-hand side. Banking's over on the right. It's going to see a hallucination making the way down. I feel much more confident for stats than I have in the last few games. You know, it's one of those positions now where the game slowed down a little bit. And to me, this is like stats in his prime. He hasn't had a slow third. There's no reason that he gets a slow fourth base here. I think this is the best position Stats has had since probably game 4. You know, because the other games where Stats got up into this sort of stage of the game, ByuN was controlling. ByuN was slowing him down and making the game his own. This time, it kind of feels like Stats has dealt with that early on. Everything from ByuN pushing through the center. Zealots, Disruptors starting to make their way in. Disruptor shot doesn't quite connect. Prism gets into the main base. A couple of Zealots will not do too much yet, and that Prism is going to instantly recall. Good call from Stats. He has Prism speed, so getting it back on the map is going to be pretty quick. And obviously now it's something that you don't have to rebuild, so you can continue with your 2 Disruptors at a time in the production. There's that 4th base. This group of Zealots looks as though they'll dodge around. The Bio stops to pick off the rocks, although the Prism flies straight over it, and Ellie goes down. Rocks get taken down, opening up this pathway. ByuN has to be careful about those Disruptors. Tanks will need to be sieging here as the Zealots go around the right side as well. So 2 sets of Zealots likely to get a lot done because ByuN has pretty much everything on the map. He is starting to pull back. Yeah, and maybe he really needs to be pulling back as well because these Zealots, there's so many of them. They're going to do a lot. Already getting in here. No SCVs, but getting a tank, working on a call down supply depot. It's actually a pretty big deal. And now picking off reinforcements as they come out from the main into the natural. And now the SCVs start to go down. A couple of Liberators siege up to protect, but honestly, ByuN just has to pull back to deal with this, and that alone is a pretty big deal. And the depot's going down. ByuN is supply blocked, so unable to build any reinforcements right now. Stats is starting to come across the map. And maybe looking for an opportunity as 14 SCVs have fallen. That's how ByuN gets unsupply blocked. Thanks to SCVs dying. It's not exactly really the ideal way to stay out of the supply block, is it? No, it really is not. Zealots from Stats to the 6 o'clock. More of them ready to run by once again. If ByuN tries to move forward, he scans ahead. He wants to know what he's fighting into. An Observer escapes away, takes a turn, probably gets away. Don't think the Marines will catch that. Stats in the middle. You just can't push through those speed zones into the Protoss play. Disruptor shot looked to be big. It is big. Disruptor goes down, but it got the connection he needed. And it gets a good chunk of bio. Another big hit for ByuN. And this miracle comeback run might be coming to a close. From 4-0 down to 4-4. But unfortunately, Stats is just looking a bit too strong in game number 9. Oh, ByuN, I mean, credit to him for trying, though. Credit to him for giving us a series winner. Even I had given up on this series. And it was absolutely the wrong state of mind to be in. Believe in ByuN. But not for the whole distance as Stats comes charging on through. And that's just a complete shutdown. The Liberators were going up the right side of the map. We saw that happening. And, well, obviously they didn't do anything, right? They weren't here to help defend. So that wasn't great. It might have made the difference. There's not a lot of anti-air actually left here. Like, that's doing okay because only the Liberators are being fought at this point in time. Maybe if those Libs were there from the beginning, there was a way to survive a little longer. But either way, ByuN was obviously in trouble. And Stats had it on lockdown. GG's, and Stats is going to win this series 5-4. First time in a long time a best of 9 has gone to all 9 games. Really, really fun series. Especially when it started 4-0 for Stats. What a turnaround. What a story. What a set of matches. GG's and congrats to Stats on the win.